Okay. So welcome to the crypto investing class. My name is Michael. I'm the founder and the lead educator of Decrypt DeFi, which is a consultancy firm and basically an education firm as well. So I've been teaching cryptocurrency since the year 2022 when I began to take this industry really serious, although my first interaction with the blockchain was in 2017. Today, we're going to talk about crypto investing, delving into the foundation and fundamentals of crypto, strategies and timing, risk tools and execution, and then we're going to do some protocols, and I'll give you some opportunity to ask questions as well. So yeah, before I delve into all of this stuff, let me just tell you my story about how I got into crypto. 2017, I bought Bitcoin. I had absolutely no clue. I was a little bit of a techie guy. Even though I was techie, I had no education about blockchain, crypto, but I was able to buy. So I talked to a friend of mine and then we put together some funds and then we bought Bitcoin. I think the price was like $3,000 at the time. But I had absolutely no education, and I think that time we really needed money. So we're trying to like grow our money within a very short period of time. So because I had no education, obviously, I saw a scammer put up a post on Instagram saying that, hey, if you we have this cloud mining thing that we're doing. If you join it, we'll be able to grow your bitcoins, 2x your bitcoins. I had no idea what was going on. So let me show my face for the first few minutes so that you can connect. Yeah, so I basically gave this guy my money, and the person pretended to be from Italy, but ultimately I found out it was a Nigerian scammer. So I gave them my access to my seed phrase, my wallet. I had no clue what I was doing. I gave them access to my wallet to do the operation in code, and obviously, you know at the end of the story. They took all my assets and blocked me. And then I found out that that was a Nigerian scammer. So that was my first interaction with Bitcoin. So guess what? That was 2017. And I think there was a bull run going on at that time. But yeah, because of that, I stayed away from crypto for 4 years. I had absolutely nothing to do with crypto. I missed out on the 2021 bull run where people became millionaires through Shiba, Dogecoin, and altcoins made people super rich because I got scared of my whatever I experienced and decided to, hey, you know what? I am not touching this crypto thing. So I came around in 2022 where I said, you know what? I really missed out on a lot. Let me really take my time. This time I'm going in with education. I'm going in with knowledge. I'm not just going to be doing anything. I'm going to really take my time. So I started 2021. I started to really delve deeper into crypto. Then 2022, I delved much, much deeper and I began to get a better understanding. And then I made my first $1,000 that year from an airdrop called Aptos. And that was pretty much how my journey began. Then I created a community, began to teach people, and that's how we ended up here. So the state of crypto today, by the way, if you've ever been scammed, drop me a five in the comments if you've ever been scammed in crypto before you came into this class. Drop me a five in the comments. If you can relate to my story, drop me a five in the comments so that I know that you can hear my story and you're listening. Oh, no one has been scammed. Wow, I'm alone. Okay, that's interesting. But let me know, can you guys hear me clearly? Can you hear me? I need some interaction to know. Okay. Okay. All right. Someone says yes. Okay, that means you've been scammed. All right. That's normal. So, yes, victim. Someone says I'm a victim. Chrissy Foley says I can hear you. Top says yes, clearly. Great. So we're talking about the state of crypto today. Let's look at the state of crypto today. And we're looking at the market cap. So crypto currently, total market cap of crypto is currently at around almost 4 trillion. So by now it should be like 3.7 to 3.8 trillion as at the time of this call. And yeah, and then we have the fear and greed index at 57 and altcoin season index by now I think it's around 50 something right now. But at the time of doing this slides, I was like 47. Okay, so we're looking at the top cryptocurrencies. Okay, we're dealing with Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, USDT, BNB, Solana, USDC. These are some of the top cryptocurrencies, the top seven, right? Obviously, we can see Bitcoin, which is the granddaddy. It's currently like 108,000. After I did the slides, it dipped a bit before we enter into September, and it's $117,000 dollars at that time. So it's around two trillion market cap. I'll talk about what market cap means. And then we have Ethereum, we have XRP, we have USDT, which is a stable coin. We have BNB, which is a BNB blockchain from Binance. We have Solana, which is my favorite chain. And we have USDC as well. Now we're looking at the Bitcoin. This is the Bitcoin dominance chart, right? So we can clearly see that Bitcoin dominance is reducing. And when we talk about Bitcoin dominance, it basically means that other assets are beginning to gain attention and beginning to gain market value. And that is what a signal for what we call altcoin season, where usually millionaires are created out of that season because Bitcoin is a high cap, which has already made people millions. Those who got in very, very early made them a lot of money. And now we are about to enter into what we call altcoin season. So these are various cryptocurrencies by market cap, different types of cryptocurrencies. You can see stable coins. We have DeFi, which is decentralized finance. We have exchange-based tokens like OKB, BitGet, that's BGB, and a number of other ones. We have meme coins. We have real world assets. We have artificial intelligence, we have layer twos, we have GameFi. These are all altcoins. These are all altcoins. So you can see this is a visual about how the various sectors of altcoins are growing, right? And we can see real world assets over here. We can see DeFi capturing a huge amount of the map. We can see obviously stable coins are really big. They're in the top seven. Okay. Then artificial intelligence and meme coins. So these are very, very key sectors of crypto, which are very important when it comes to crypto investing. Who here owns crypto? And what was your first buy? Drop a comment. Let me know how many of you here already own crypto and when did you first buy, when did you buy your first cryptocurrency? I just want at least two comments. I'll read them and then we proceed with what we have here. Okay, so someone says 2017, BTC 2020, Kwesi Foley. Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, that's great to know. Okay. So, what is crypto really? What is crypto? Crypto is the word says crypto, right? If you ever heard the word cryptographic or cryptic, we're talking about something that is hidden, that is coded, that is, is not directly readable, right? So, it's cryptic, right? And that is hidden. It's hidden. It's not like so you see it's made up of code, you see all kinds of smart contracts and all kinds of things. So that's what crypto really, the meaning of crypto is. But then crypto basically is a decentralized, transparent currency. So crypto is a currency that is built on the blockchain ledger. So the by built on blockchain technology. What is blockchain? Blockchain is just a public digital ledger. Okay, so just like you have a ledger in an accounting service where you can view transactions. Okay, Eugene says XRP 2024. where you can view transactions, right? And every accountant has a ledger where they record, receivables and payables and all those kind of things. So, a ledger is a blockchain is a public ledger where all transactions are viewable publicly. So you can view every single transaction, every transfer, everything is decentralized and viewable. Everyone has access to it. So that's what a blockchain is. And it's also decentralized, which means that there's no central entity which is controlling the blockchain, like a bank or a government. So this is technology that is controlled by community, by people all over the world. Okay, so this is technology that is controlled by people all over the world and it's decentralized. So there's no central entity that is actually controlling the blockchain. So like Bitcoin, for example, there are people who have nodes, right? And they are with their computers and their GPUs mining all across the world and verifying transactions all across the world. It is not limited to one bank or a group of staff in an office somewhere, So this means that it is peer to peer and also it's what do you call it's excuse me. It's peer to peer and also it is it's 24/7, okay? So unlike a bank, with a bank, you are going to be able to have to wait, over the weekend for money that is being transacted to continue processing. And that's because there are people who have to verify, and they have to be in the office. A lot of things have to happen before finally the money arrives in your bank. But now we are dealing with a world which is fast-paced. Money has to move as fast as possible because we're in a very fast-paced world. We're getting AI. We are getting, the fintech industry is growing. So blockchain comes to solve the issues when it comes to speed and then fees. So blockchain crypto really is solving a lot of things in terms of fees, in terms of a much more reliable assets to invest in a certain sense. Like Bitcoin has outperformed a lot of assets around the world because of its scarcity and high demand. Okay, so unlike if you compare gold to Bitcoin, Bitcoin has appreciated in a shorter period of time, like, as against gold. Okay, so gold is very gentle, takes years and years and years, and no one is going to be on this earth forever. So we need to maximize whatever we are doing within as short time as possible. Of course, have a long-term mindset, but then in the shortest time possible. Okay, so let's look at the blockchain. We have transactions occurring in two different consensus algorithms. We have proof of work and proof of stake. Okay, proof of work and proof of stake are that's POW and POS. They are consensus mechanisms used in cryptocurrency networks to validate transactions. So when it comes to proof of work, it occurs in blockchains like Bitcoin, where you need to solve complex, so the miners, the Bitcoin miners, they need to solve complex computational puzzles and mathematical puzzles to add new blocks to the blockchain. So when they solve this puzzle, then they have mined and they get a mining reward. So that's how and they use a lot of GPUs, like these GPUs that are used also in AI are used also by miners. Okay, GPU means graphical processing unit. Yeah. So so that's what NVIDIA does and all of that. So so these are the POW, proof of work, and then we have proof of stake, where it's not based on how much computational power that you have, but more about how the amount of coins that you are holding under that blockchain. So the native currency of a particular blockchain is what you hold. And the more you hold, the more you would have the voting right or to validate more transactions. Okay. So that's how it works. So for network security, it uses the holders of a certain have a certain you have to hold a certain number of coins to be able to stake in the network, have a stake in the network security. Okay. Now let's talk about what coins are, coins and tokens. Okay, coins and tokens. But let me just show you. Uh, come right here. Okay. So yeah, we're talking about crypto. So another thing you need to know is that crypto has faster transactions. Okay, unlike Swift, unlike other banks, it's decentralized, and then we can deal with inflation through crypto, and then low transaction fees and grows in value, even though it's volatile. And then, yeah, we'll not go over the story of crypto. So I talked about mining, proof of work, and all of that kind of stuff, high computing power for proof of work. So two ways of confirming transaction. When we talk of consensus, it means like you are confirming a transaction. So confirming of transactions happens through two ways. The Bitcoin consensus algorithm is proof of work. Just keep that in mind. It might be a little something for you now, but just to keep that in mind. Proof of work and proof of stake. Proof of work requires high computing power to approve transactions, to verify transactions on the blockchain by solving puzzles. So all the miners around the world constantly solving a puzzle. This is how Bitcoin was programmed. Constantly solving that puzzle. The first to solve that puzzle becomes the first to verify the transaction, and the others also verify it. 50 more than 50% of the network verifies it and it is confirmed. But the first to verify gets the Bitcoin mining reward. Just understand it that way. And this mining reward, it reduces in half every 4 years or every 210,000 blocks. So blocks are the verified code in the blockchain. Every 210,000 blocks, the mining rewards that Bitcoin miners receive reduces in half. And the halving often predicts a bull run coming for Bitcoin. So the more, every time a halving occurs, then a bull run occurs within the next 6 to 18 months, for Bitcoin. So that's how Bitcoin keeps appreciating in value. Okay, so we're talking about nodes. So this is an example of a Bitcoin mining farm. And then we have proof of stake, which is majority of other cryptos outside of Bitcoin use proof of stake, consensus algorithm. There are many other types of different consensus algorithm as well, consensus mechanisms. But yeah, proof of stake is one huge one where for to be a validator, you need to stake a certain quantity of coins in the network. So, for example, if it's Solana, to be a Solana validator to verify transactions as a validator, you would have to stake a huge amount of Solana. Okay, and then people will also be able to stake with you, and then every time there's a transaction, you earn a fee. So you earn fees from all the transactions that occur on Solana if you are a Solana validator. So just a little overview here. So we're talking about blockchains, we're talking about coins, right? Let's go to that. So there are different types of cryptos. Yep, coins and tokens, difference. Yeah. So a coin is a digital currency, right? It's similar to like a physical, but it's digital. And the coins operate with their own blockchain protocol. Okay. So example is Bitcoin. It operates with its protocol on the Bitcoin blockchain. Okay. So BTC operates on Bitcoin blockchain. BTC operates on Bitcoin blockchain, and then that's a coin, right? And coins can be used as sources of payments. You can use Bitcoin, Ethereum, all of that are coins. But then we have tokens, okay? Tokens are digital assets which are issued on a particular blockchain. So, for example, let's say Ethereum, right? The main coin of Ethereum, the native coin of Ethereum blockchain is Ethereum or ETH, as we call it. But you can issue a token on the Ethereum blockchain, which is not the native currency of Ethereum, and it does not operate with its own blockchain, right? But it is just built on Ethereum. It's a token. We call it a token. There are many tokens, and that's how we make money buying tokens and getting them appreciate. Okay.
No,
So please mute yourself. Please mute yourself.
the slides are not matching. What you have on the screen is not
Oh,
different from where you are.
sorry. I'm using two slides. Sorry. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yes. Can you see the second slides now? I hope so. Can you see the second slides now?
Yes, with a yellow background.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. So I'll be switching between two slides. Okay. So
Okay, okay.
I'll try to keep it. Yeah. Thank you for that, Crazy Foley. So yeah, I was talking about coins and tokens. So I said that a coin is built on one particular blockchain. So it has its blockchain. For example, Ethereum, Solana, they are coins. They are native currencies and they have their blockchain. Dogecoin has its blockchain. But tokens are built on top of these blockchains. So like Dogecoin is not just a coin, it actually has its blockchain. It's a whole blockchain. And you can have there are coins, there are tokens that are built on Dogecoin blockchain. There are tokens that are built on Ethereum blockchain. There are tokens that are built on Bitcoin. There are tokens that are built on Solana. Those are tokens. Then we have coins, which are the native currencies, which usually are used for like payment because tokens are a bit more volatile than coins. So just a little distinction over there, right? Okay, let me go back to my original slides. Okay, so we're talking about coins. So we got coins, we got tokens, then we've got stable coins. So stable coins are pegged to the US dollar. Example, USDC, USDT, FDUSD. We have DAI and many others. Okay, USD1, which is going to launch or has already launched from the Trump family and the World Liberty Finance. And we've got also NFTs, which are another type of crypto asset. NFT, those are non-fungible tokens. Okay, I'll talk about a little bit about that very soon. We've got real world assets, which are tied to real world assets. Okay, so you can have a gold type of asset, a gold type of token on the blockchain, which is tied to real gold. Okay, we'll look into that. So real world assets are digital tokens that represent physical and traditional financial assets, such as currencies, commodities, and equities. Okay, so you can have even real estate tokens, okay, that are tied to actual real estate, to real world assets. It's a very fascinating category of crypto, which is going to have a lot of upside. Okay. Then we're going to look at altcoins. Okay, so altcoins versus Bitcoin. Okay, so altcoins are every other cryptocurrency that is outside of Bitcoin. So we have Bitcoin, the granddaddy, that literally started this whole thing. Then we have altcoins, which are like alternative currencies that that came after Bitcoin. So, example, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, all those coins, all the tokens, they are all altcoins. Okay, they are all altcoins. And altcoins bring tokenization, and then altcoins bring scalability, as I talked. So, like Ethereum, for example, Bitcoin is 10 transactions a second, okay? While Ethereum does 20 plus transactions a second, okay? And they're trying to even increase the speed further. And we got Solana doing like what, 5,000 to 100,000 transactions a second. So, yeah, then we've got XRP and all of that. So altcoins do bring scalability and they also create opportunity. So obviously Bitcoin is really high in market cap. If you want a much more stable asset in the crypto family, you're talking about Bitcoin. Okay, for now. So as you got institutions involved and also Ethereum as well. And then Solana is also coming up. So in terms of that stability of assets in high cap, it's all Bitcoin. But then altcoins create opportunity because they are lower caps, which have higher upside. So you'll be able to make much more money in terms of investing through altcoins than in Bitcoin from lower capital. Okay, so let's talk about layer ones and layer twos. Okay, let me check the comments to see what you guys are saying. Okay, thank you. So layer one. So we talked about Bitcoin, we've talked about Ethereum, we've talked about coins and tokens. So all the all the blockchains on which coins are built, okay? Like Dogecoin, which has the Dogecoin blockchain, Ethereum, which has the Ethereum blockchain, Bitcoin blockchain, Solana blockchain, Aptos, all these BNB, these are what we call layer ones. They are the base blockchain and ecosystem, okay, for which tokens are built on, okay. So the base blockchain and ecosystem is what we call a layer one. So think about like the ground floor. Think about it like the ground floor of a building. Then you have layer twos, which are building blocks built on the built on the layer ones to scale them up in terms of things like speed, security, decentralization, all those type of things. So layer twos try to improve, give a scalability to, they are all tied to the same layer one. They all have their transactions verified on the layer one. Are you following me? If you're following everything I'm saying, drop me a one in the comment. Let me know that you can understand everything. But I'll give you opportunity to ask questions, by the way. But then layer ones have a foundation. They are the base blockchain. Then layer two is built on top. So an example is when you get to the Ethereum blockchain, you have Ethereum, which does like 20 transactions a second. They are trying to make it like move faster. I've not checked the latest stats, but they are trying to make Ethereum mainnet really fast. But then for a long time, Ethereum was not been like 20 transactions a second. And we have Base, which is from Coinbase, Optimism, Zora, Arbitrum, and many other Ethereum layer twos, which are faster and cheaper. Okay, generally they're faster and cheaper. So Ethereum is trying to catch up and become like an all-in-all. It doesn't need too much of layer twos to try to reduce fees and all of that. But for the most part of Ethereum's life cycle, we've had need for layer twos which make things so Base is faster than Ethereum mainnet, it's cheaper, transactions are finalized faster, Optimism, Zora, and all of that. So these are layer twos, okay? Yeah, and like we have layer ones like BNB and Solana, they try to be an all-in-one blockchain, so they don't really need a lot of scaling from a layer two. So we are having more and more of layer ones that are um sort of comprehensive and they don't really need a lot of layer twos. But like the OGs like Ethereum and Bitcoin, they have some layer twos that are trying to, scale them up, okay? So let's talk about the categories of crypto, right? The categories of crypto that are going to do well in this bull run and that you should probably look at investing in. Okay. Let me see the comments. So we've got meme coins. I don't know, I shouldn't have put this first because meme coins are like the most volatile crypto assets. But we've got like artificial intelligence, DeFi, and then internet capital markets. Then we've got, of course, real world assets as well, which I talked about earlier. I talked about real world assets. But then there are many other categories of crypto. I talked about them right here. Artificial intelligence, memes, DeFi, real world assets, layer twos, gaming, all of these are important sectors of crypto. Okay, now I'm going to do an exercise right now. Based on everything I've said, I want you to group these cryptos that you see in front of your screen into whether they are coins, whether they are tokens, whether they are stable coins, whether they are layer ones. And yeah, so I'm going to mention and whether they are altcoins. So out of these coins that you see on your screen, I want you to drop in the chat. Which of these is an altcoin? In the comments, drop me in the comments which of these is an altcoin from whatever you've heard. I'm testing you. Which of these is an altcoin? Okay. ETH, Doge. Okay. ETH, Sol, Arbitrum, Doge. Good. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, all except BTC. Perfect. That's good. Thank you. Great. You're following. So everything here except BTC is an altcoin. Okay. Out of these lists, which of these is a token and which of these is a coin based on what you've learned so far? Out of this list, which of these is a token and which is a coin? Out of these lists, which of these is a token and which is a coin? No one. No one can answer. Wow. Coin, BTC, ETH, USDT, BTC, ETH, SOL. Okay. So Eugene is right. All the coins are BTC, ETH, and SOL. These are the only kind. Doge. Doge is also a coin. BTC, ETH, SOL, and Doge because they have their own blockchain. USDT is not a coin. It's a coin, but it's not a coin. It's a stable coin, as we call it. But it is issued on several blockchains. So fundamentally, technically speaking, it's not a coin per se, but in terms of how we describe it, it's a stable coin. But in terms of technically from the definition that we've given, USDT does not have its blockchain, neither does USDC. But I do know that USDC is now creating its blockchain. Yes, so BTC, ETH, Sol, and Doge are actually coins because they all have their own blockchain. They all have their own blockchain. We can call USDT a stable coin, which is a different category. Then Uniswap, the Mana, and Arbitrum are tokens. Okay. So Uniswap, Mana is a gaming coin. Uniswap is a DeFi. So all Ethereum transactions mainly run through Uniswap. And then Arbitrum, which is a layer 2 built on ETH. It's a token. Okay. So all layer 2s, we talked about layer 2s here. Keep in mind, all layer 2s, they still use the coin of the native layer 1. So let's say like Base, right? Base is a layer 2 built on Ethereum, which is the layer 1. Okay, so think of it like ground floor is Ethereum, and then first floor is Base. Let's think about like Base, Optimism, all these are first floor, but they're all built on Ethereum. So they still need Ethereum to do business. Okay, they still need Ethereum to hang around. They still need Ethereum to execute. Okay, so they all use Ethereum, but then they have a token. Base is yet to come up with this token, but then majorly almost all of the layer 1, layer 2s have their own token. Okay, so those are not coins, those are tokens. They still need a native currency of the chain. Okay. So let's talk about like how to evaluate projects. So how do we, how do we know what to invest? 2021, there were very few cryptos in existence. Now we have a proliferation of cryptocurrencies. We have a multiplication and excess. Millions are being minted every second, hundreds of thousands of cryptos right as we are speaking. People are minting coins, creating coins on the blockchain because of no code coin creation. Some few years ago, you needed to be a very technical developer. You needed to understand smart contracts. You needed to be good at programming and all of that. And then you needed to have liquidity to be able to add to a contract to create a token. Now you can easily do that on thanks to platforms like Palm.Fan, which was the first mover from Solana. And then we have many others on other blockchains as well. So now almost every blockchain has that type of platform where you don't need no code. And that's the direction the world is going into. With AI, we have vibe coding. So pretty much like they are reducing the barrier of entry, right? They are reducing the barrier of entry. So coin creation is no more a big thing. So which means that there's excess tokenization going on, which means there's less quality, which means you need to be very, very discerning and percipient to be able to know what to invest in. Okay, because like there's so much going on, and that means that a lot of scams also be available. So we need to know the team, we need to understand the tech, we need to look at the tokenomics, we need to look at the adoption of the tech, we need to look at the community, and we need to look at the smart contract. Okay, so community is really important because when it comes to the meme coin space, meme coins an asset class that have to do with funds. So I was talking about coins. Trying to just cover a lot in a very short time. Yeah, so we talked about this, right? So let's talk about meme coins. Meme coins are basically community coins, social tokens that are built around a community that loves a particular idea, concept, or something. Okay, they love a concept and they all gel with a concept or a virality of something, and they come together to create. For example, the very first most successful meme coin was Dogecoin, which was highly recommended by Elon Musk. Okay, which Tesla actually receives payment in Dogecoin, and also unique in the sense that it has its own blockchain, which not every meme coin does. But Dogecoin has its blockchain, so that kind of sets us apart. And Dogecoin is just a coin based on a nice looking dog, right? And people love dogs. It has no promise of value, but then it's a top asset. So that creates a new value, and it created a new asset class called meme coins, which are very like they keep becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, then we've got artificial intelligence. So the coin it might be tied to something that is helping, a tool that is helping an AI agent or an AI tool that is helping you in some way related to AI. So that's artificial intelligence, a very, very strong. It's going to be one of the strongest sectors in crypto this year in the bull market, which is not too low, not too far from us. The artificial intelligence cryptos are going to do massively well. Then we've got this DeFi, which is decentralized finance. DeFi means decentralized finance. So we look at that borrowing, lending, staking, decentralized exchanges. These are all within the DeFi space. So we've got like projects like Jupiter, Radium, Uniswap is DeFi, Cetus. These are all DeFi protocols. And there are many DeFi protocols. So a very good sector because DeFi is where we do all our trading on chain where we do all our activity and all of that. Then we've got internet capital markets. Then, of course, we've got gaming. We've got real world assets as well, which I touched on up here. Okay. Real world assets, layer twos. These are all sectors of crypto. Okay. So meme coins are going to do well. Artificial intelligence and all of that. Alrighty. Okay. So we've talked about evaluating a project. So as I said, you need to know the team. Who is the team behind the project? Very important. On sometimes who are the wallets behind the project? Okay, so if the wallet is the wallets that create a project are very good, well funded, it might be an indicator. It's not guaranteed, but it's an indicator. Who is the team? Is the person trusted? Who's the team behind the project? Really, really important. What is their track record? Who are they? Like one of the big meme coins in this cycle is Pudgy Penguins. Pudgy Penguins. We had an airdrop from them. A very known team. They are going crazily viral everywhere. Good connections and all of that. So really easy. Pudgy Penguins. Very solid meme. Okay. Then tech. What is the tech behind it? If it's a meme coin, it might not necessarily have a tech. Pudgy Penguins does have a blockchain. Okay, abstract chain. So you can put it in the class of Dogecoin, two meme coins having their own chains. And then we have our tokenomics. What is the tokenomics of the meme coin? When we talk about tokenomics, we are dealing with the design of the token, how much of the token is in circulation. So we'll talk about market cap. Let's delve into tokenomics right now, briefly. If you are still there, drop me a one. Let me know that you are not sleeping. You are listening to information. Good. So let's talk about tokenomics. Okay. Tokenomics. Just a second. So tokenomics, okay, tokens. So we can look at supply. Supply is the number of circulating supply, the term is circulating supply, is the number of tokens in circulation at the moment. So tokens that can be bought and sold is what we call circulating supply. Then there is the total supply, which is the total number of tokens that exist. Okay, the total supply. Then we have market cap. Market cap is the total value in dollars of tokens in circulation. So usually to get a market cap of a token, we look at the price of the token multiplied by the number of tokens in circulation. So let me give you a practical example right now. We go to coin market cap. So this is a platform for you to analyze some top cryptos. Not everything here is legit though, but so we're going to look at, okay, because this went viral, let's look at Pi. Okay, I didn't get into Pi, but I see that Pi, people kind of heard about Pi. So let me just, I'm sure at least everyone here has one friend who was mining Pi. So we're going to look at Pi. So let's look at, use Pi as an example of tokenomics, okay? To try and understand some basic tokenomics. Alrighty, loading. Okay, so Pi has a price of 0.369. Let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see CoinMarketCap? Can you see CoinMarketCap? Good. Thank you, Eugene Samo. So Pi has a price of 0.3694. Market cap of Pi is 2.95 billion. Now, how do we get to 2.95 billion market cap? Market cap is a term that gives you the understanding of the valuation. So you see that Bitcoin is 2.3 trillion market cap or 2.1 trillion market cap now. Then we use that to measure. Okay, so Bitcoin is 2.1 trillion. That's the highest and the best assets among all the assets, Bitcoin. Now we can compare. So we see Pi is 2.9 billion. That is like what? 10%. No. Is it 10%? Yeah, 10. No, that's like 1% or 0.1% of the market cap of Bitcoin. 0.1% of the market cap of Bitcoin. So we can say, oh, that's quite, yeah. So we look at the circulating supply. So let's look at circulating supply. We can see the total supply of Pi is 100 billion. 100 billion tokens. It's a coin, right? Pi is actually its own blockchain. So this is a coin. So 100 billion coins in supply. Okay. 100 billion coins in supply, which is very, very high. And then we've got circulating supply of 7.98 billion. So roughly about 80% of Pi is in circulation. Okay, 80% of Pi is in circulation. So when we're dealing with the market cap, we are dealing with the price multiplied by the circulating supply. So let's see if there's a calculator. There should be a calculator on here. Okay, let me see if I can open. But you can just type it in you can do a calculation. You realize that when you multiply 7.98 billion by 0.3695, you will get 2.95 billion approximately. So that's what we get the market cap with. So just have that in mind. Okay, so now we're looking at tokenomics. So first of all, how many tokens, how many coins are in supply? Okay, so that's important. Circulating supply also important. Okay, so now we have 80% in circulation. Now we also need to understand of the coins that are in so that's a huge amount of coins in circulation, by the way. A huge amount of coins in circulation. Of the total supply, we also need to understand how many of the total supply is locked. When will it be released into circulation? These are all things that you need to understand when it comes to tokenomics. So how much is locked? So if it's circulating means that it's not locked. It is available to be traded right now. That's pretty high for circulating supply. So which means that if pi reaches $10, the total the market cap of pi will be 80 billion. If pi reaches $100, the market cap of pi will be 800 billion. Now, someone will come and tell that Charlie, pi go hit $1,000 a token. Now, what a person is telling you is that pi is going to become an $8 trillion asset. Now, Bitcoin, which is the granddaddy of this whole blockchain ecosystem, is at $2.1 trillion. And someone is telling you that Pi, which just came recently, is going to hit $1,000 and get 8 trillion market cap. Then you know that the person is lying. Because you are doing a comparison between Bitcoin and any other. Bitcoin is the leader. Nothing moves if Bitcoin doesn't move. If Bitcoin should fall to $10,000 today, every other asset is coming down because it is the leader, it is the standard, it is everything. Okay. So Bitcoin is a standard. So always there's a comparison. You do a comparison between Bitcoin and every other asset. So if someone tells you $1,000 for Pi and the circulating supply is what? 7.98 billion. The person is literally telling you that Pi is going to do 8 trillion. It's going to be an 8 trillion asset, which is crazy. That is too far-fetched. You always need to be very, very modest about your targets, modest about your claims. Okay. So now let's look at Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is a very scarce asset because it has a low supply of just 21 million, which is why it keeps growing and growing and growing. So let's look at Bitcoin. So it's not just about how low it is in supply, but in the demand, right? So Bitcoin has institutional demand. It has massive institutional demand. So the only way for an asset with a huge amount of supply to get a very, very, very high value, which is close to Bitcoin, or even 10% of Bitcoin, or even 5% of Bitcoin, is it needs to have global demand like Bitcoin. And there is no asset. The next is Ethereum, XRP, Solana. These assets are like the ones that have any stable coins. So you can see that Bitcoin has just 19.9 million in circulation, but a total max supply of 21 million. Okay. Total supply of 19.9 million. Okay. It's actually max total supply of 21 million. And then circulating supply of 19.9 million. So as miners are mining Bitcoin, then you have more Bitcoin coming into circulation. Okay. So it's a very low supply asset, which is why, and they're not going to add to it. Okay, so another thing you need to know about tokenomics, can more tokens be minted? So there are contracts, there are tokens that can be minted. So that means that you can have, like, let's say Pi. Um, I don't know, I need to look into Pi, but then there are some coins that they have a supply of this amount, but then you can actually add more and more and more and more. So which means it's infinite. And actually Ethereum does have that. Ethereum does have that. You can create more and more ETH, but it is a very they've done it such that the emission of that is very, very, very long. It's going to take many, 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 many years, many, 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 many years. So that's another factor, emission rates. How much do we get more tokens being or more coins being created within how much period? And also out of the total supply, within which time period will more coins enter into circulation? Very important. So if it's a high amount entering into circulation within a shorter period of time, then that is going to affect the market cap. That's going to affect the valuation. That's going to make it very, very difficult to get more profit. Okay, so the reason why you need to understand all these things is that for you to get into an asset, you have to go in with it being undervalued. It has to have a lower valuation, and then it has higher upside potential for you to make more money. So if you are getting into a very high, like Bitcoin, for example, it's a $2 trillion asset. Okay. Now let's say you had $10 million, $10 million. It will make sense to buy Bitcoin because when Bitcoin will easily go to 200,000 to $1 million, okay, by the next 3, 4 years, Bitcoin hits 1 million, that would be like almost 7 to 10x your 10 million. And it's a safe, highly liquid asset that you can have. Okay, so we have BlackRock buying billions in Bitcoin, millions to billions every single day. All the ETFs, exchange traded funds in America, which are Bitcoin ETFs, they are buying this asset almost every single day. Okay, so and so when it goes to 200,000, its market cap will be just 4 trillion. So it has doubled. So 4 trillion, that means two times the price. So before Bitcoin gets to $200,000, you would have made only two times your money. So right now, if you have a $500, there is no use buying Bitcoin unless like you're buying for the long term or you're not really focused on wealth at the moment. Okay, you are just buying just to have it. Okay, for the long term. So maybe you're buying 500. If you buy $500 of Bitcoin, you will make $1,000 when Bitcoin gets to like 200,000, 250,000 dollars for one Bitcoin. So that's $1,000. That's two times your money. Decent money. A bank will not give you that money, by the way, but you can make that money in several places on the blockchain. Bitcoin is not really, but it's like, yeah, it's a safe 2x your money, safe asset. But I would recommend that you look into a much more lower valued asset that has better upside potential and that will make you more money. So this is just to give you an understanding about market caps. So when you have a lot of money, putting it into Bitcoin makes a lot of sense. In fact, the first top 10 cryptocurrencies, top 20 makes a lot of sense. But yeah, if you're looking to make a lot of money, or if you have a lot of money trying to make just a few, three times your money, two times your money, it will make sense to put it there. Okay. All right. So let's go back. Talking about. So then we have FDV, fully diluted market cap. So while market cap deals with circulating supply, FDV deals with the total supply multiplied by the price. So FDV is like total supply. Okay, just keep that in mind. So you ask yourself, how high is the market cap? How many coins are in circulation? What is the maximum supply? Also, another question you need to ask is what was the previous all-time high? What was the previous all-time high of that currency? If it's new, which means it's still developing. If it's new, then you don't have something to work with. But then if it's an old currency, you can ask what was the previous all time? How large is the community? These are questions to also ask when it comes to projects. Okay, but let me go back to the slides here. So the team, the tech, the tokenomics, the community, the smart contract. So the smart contract is the contract of the project. Sometimes developers put malicious lines of code in that would affect you. For example, there was a meme coin called Pepe, which made a lot of millionaires. The team that created Pepe, they wanted to be the only ones to get in first. They created the coin. So someone who somehow got in very, very early with $27, made like a lot of millions. But then in the contract of Pepe, they could blacklist a wallet. So that wallet had millions, but then could not sell because they blacklisted that wallet. Okay, they blacklisted that wallet. So these are things that happen in smart contracts. Okay, so you need to do smart contract auditing. So you have to look at smart contract, audit the smart contract. Is it safe? But thanks to platforms like PumpFun and Solana and some Formeme on BNB and some of these launch pads, they have created a safe smart contracts. So we don't really worry about smart contracts for certain types of tokens like we used to do just a few years ago, where we need to do a lot of research before you buy into a smart contract. Okay. Now let's talk about market cycles. Market cycles work like this. So we usually have BTC halving. So I talked about Bitcoin mining and how miners get mining rewards every time they solve a computational puzzle to verify the transaction. Now, these mining rewards, every 210,000 blocks, so there's a blockchain, every time there's a confirmation of a transaction, it's called a block. Every time there's a confirmation, it's called a block. Now, after every 210,000 blocks, okay, um, we have what we call a Bitcoin halving. Okay, so blocks, it compounds all the transactions into one block, okay, different transactions, and then stores it as one block. So after 210,000 blocks, or usually that happens within a space of 4 years, we have what we call the Bitcoin halving event, where if I think currently the mining should be like 3 Bitcoins or so. So which means that by 2028, it will go to like 1.5. I believe it's three, if I'm not right. If I'm not wrong, it's three right now, 3 point something, if it's not six. But yeah, it's going to reduce by half. When that happens, which means that we are getting less Bitcoin into circulation, which means that Bitcoin becomes even more scarce. And also the hash rate means that the difficulty level with which the computers, the GPUs have to um create a block, okay, have to predict the puzzle, the solve that puzzle, it becomes much more difficult. So the hash rate increases. Okay, so that's the hash rate increase. That's what we call hash rate. Now, when that happens, it makes it very, very difficult to mine. So the mining difficulty increases. And the more the mining difficulty increases, the less people will be able to, the less Bitcoins that will be mined, and then then there's also a halving event, so which means that less bitcoins come into circulation, and so the scarcity of the assets even grows even all the more. So typically after every halving event, or the last halving event was in 2024, and then usually after that period, within the next 6 to 18 months after halving events, is what we call the bull run for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin usually hits a new all-time high. And that's what we had. Okay. So after the halving event 2024, then we had what do you call it? We had the Bitcoin hitting 100,000 last year, right? And then it went to 120 something thousand this year. Okay. So yeah. So now when Bitcoin appreciates like the way it did, it hit new all-time highs a few months ago. Now money begins to flow from Bitcoin and it flows into Ethereum, which is the next solid coin, which Ethereum deals with smart contracts. Bitcoin has no smart contract. Bitcoin is just a store of value and a method of payment. Faster, cheaper method of payment. More cheaper than faster, because comparing Bitcoin to um other, coins, like not other coins, but like other fintech you know um products, you have Visa card processes transactions faster than Bitcoin. Okay. So that's why Ethereum and all other blockchains had to be created to add more scalability. All right. So yeah, that's how it works. So now when money flows into ETH, so we saw that ETH hit a new all-time high this month. So then when money pumps into ETH, so money pumps into BTC, BTC hits new all-time high, then money pumps into Ethereum, Ethereum hits new all-time high, then guess what? The next guess where that money is going to hit next? Drop me a comment if you know that where that money is going. You can see it on the screen right there. From BTC, money moves to not just so alts. Alts, but yeah, definitely Solana is going to get that as well. So alts, So Ethereum is like the major alt. Every other altcoin, Solana, Dogecoin, XRP, all the altcoins, alts are going to, so we are just at the precipice of what we call altcoin season. And that is where millionaires, people are going to make so much money. Those who are positioned in the right places, positioned in the right coins, are going to make so much money. And we are just very close. Okay, so that's how the market cycle works. And usually this happens every 4 years. But there's coming a time where that 4 year cycle might just break and we might just be in a normal because now money like Bitcoin, previously, Bitcoin was not a recognized asset, but times have changed. Institutions have come into Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin is becoming a recognized asset. They'll keep buying and buying and buying, and Bitcoin will probably go to 1 million within the next 3 years, or might even be less. Who knows? But, you're going to have, so the money is going to keep flowing. So we might have high Bitcoin all-time highs, but the only thing that can limit altcoin season like the way it is going to happen very soon is regulations. We don't know how regulations will look like. So this might be one of the last opportunities to make a lot of money in the blockchain ecosystem. Okay. So like being a blockchain early adopter, this like one of the just like the way you had the internet tech stocks like Facebook and Tesla and all those kind of stocks like this like the opportunity to call yourself and to call yourself in history that I was one of the early people in the blockchain, yeah, and we made a lot of money out of the blockchain era, the early era of the blockchain. This is like the opportunity to put yourself in that historical category. Yeah. Okay. So money flows, BTC, ETH, alts. And in alts, formerly it used to be like altcoins and meme coins, but right now I think it's gonna be like altcoins, meme coins, everything all together. Okay, so because meme coins have become like part of the altcoin asset class in a certain sense, it's now an established asset class. It's part of the whole game now. So now it cannot be isolated. So I do believe you're gonna have AI, meme coin season, all of that happening around the same time. Okay, now let's look at how to buy crypto. To buy crypto, you need fiat currency. Then you need to be able to do what we call peer-to-peer. Okay, and then you need a decentralized exchange. Okay, to swap your fiat currency like your dollar, your CD, your naira, your dirham from Dubai, whatever currency you use, to USDT or USDC. Then you use that to, or any, not just that, but okay, you can also do P2P with Bitcoin as well, or Solana or Ethereum. And then now you can use that for whatever you want to do. But typically we used P2P, we do that from fiat into like a stable coin like USDT, USDC. And then we use that to buy a particular native currency like Ethereum, Solana, or whatever altcoin you want to buy. And then, of course, decentralized exchanges is also where we buy cryptos. Now, majority of money is made, the millions are not made on centralized exchanges typically. The only way you make millions on centralized exchange if you are doing more of trading, and then also if you are buying a lot of money, a lot of like you're buying huge amounts of certain usually before cryptos hit Binance, KuCoin, all these exchanges, Bybit, they have really appreciated in value. However, there could be dips you can get, but majorly speaking, to turn little money into much, you will not be using centralized exchanges. You just use a centralized exchange to get like the Solana, to get the Ethereum, to get the native currencies, and then you have to move that off the exchange. And you don't want to be keeping majority of your funds on exchanges. They can freeze your assets, and we'll talk about that right now. So let's look at crypto wallets. Okay, so this is very important. For you to have cryptocurrency, to buy cryptocurrency, to use cryptocurrency, to trade with cryptocurrency, you need a wallet. Okay, and the wallet is like your interface to interact with the blockchain. The blockchain is code, but most people do not interact with code. So you need like a wallet that kind of visualizes whatever is happening. and makes it in something you can interact with. So we've got different types of wallets. Custodial wallet is Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, KuCoin, Bybit, all these exchanges. Mexi, um, which other exchange do you know apart from these ones? All of them are all custodial wallets. Now, what is a custodial wallet? A custodial wallet is, so like you can see that when you log into your Binance or whatever, you can see your assets, whatever assets you bought, they are still there. That is a wallet. It's a wallet of itself, but it's controlled by Binance. It's controlled by Coinbase. It's controlled by whatever platform you're using, which is a centralized entity. And that is not the purpose for which the crypto was created. Crypto was created to give you the power to own your own assets, control your own assets, buy, sell, have access to them anytime you want. And but custodial wallets, yeah, a third party holds and controls your private keys. You do not own the private keys to your Binance. You only own your email and your password. But the actual private key to those assets is Binance, controlled by Binance. So which means what? Whatever exchange you're using. Which means if they decide that they see a problem with you and they feel that you do not you're a threat to them, a threat to society, whatever it is, they can freeze those assets, they can lock you out. They have the private keys to those assets, those wallets. It is theirs. Or even though you used your precious money to buy, but once you're holding it on their platform, just like a bank can call you and tell you, like, you know what, we are freezing your account based on so and so reason, and you cannot say anything. Okay, that is what a custodial. But when it comes to self-custodial wallets, those are wallets that you own the private keys, you own the seed phrase, it belongs to you, and unless you share those seed phrases or leak those seed phrases out to a scammer, you like the way I did with my Bitcoin, my story, when I first got into it, then the person has control of your assets. So that's self-custodial wallets. Okay. Then there's MPC wallets, which it kind of uses like email. So that's also somehow custodial. So like it's you can have a wallet within an exchange, but it's MPC. You don't have the seed phrase, but then it's like you can use like an email or something like that to log in. Yeah. So that's like an MPC wallet. Yeah. So yeah, self-custodial wallets prevent censorship, right? Which means that no one can control your money or tell you that, hey, so let's assume you have some money in your bank and then you have your wallet with assets. If at any point something should happen to your bank account, something goes wrong, you have your assets in your wallet that you control, which means no one can debank you. Okay, like you still have money that you can use. You can, and now we have MasterCard and Visa card are entering into stable coins. So you're gonna have MasterCard, Visa card stable coins, cards that you can still use to spend. You understand? So crypto brings freedom. That's the whole concept of crypto. And then also with your wallet, that's your self-custodial wallet that you control. You have access to Web3 applications, DeFi apps to grow your money, to stake your money. To every utility that banks have is actually in the decentralized finance. That's in the crypto decentralized finance world. Every utility that you see in banks, even more borrowing and lending. Okay, you can even when it comes to Africa, you don't even have access to certain funds. But if you have assets, like if you have Bitcoin, if you have some assets, you can actually borrow, on borrowing lending platforms like Jupiter Lend and other lending and borrowing protocol, Aave. You understand? And even the Trump project that is coming up next week, World Liberty Finance is going to do a lot of borrowing and lending through Aave. Okay, so wallets are for storing digital assets. Wallets are for signing transactions. So before every interaction with your assets occurs, or you need to sign that transaction yourself. So if you see any pop up on your wallet and you did not initiate that transaction, you don't understand what it is, don't sign it. If you do sign it, you're giving access to your assets for an interaction to happen and you could lose your assets. So wallets are for signing transactions that you have initiated, right? To execute something on the blockchain. And also for viewing your assets easily, also for custody, and also for interaction with decentralized finance, just to add that. Okay. Let's talk about some wallet recommendations. There are so many wallets. These are just a few. MetaMask, Phantom, and Hot Wallet I like what Hot Wallet is doing in terms of security, their new security features. Phantom is very, really easy to use, great UI, and multiple blockchains on ETH, Bitcoin, Solana, and many others. And MetaMask also the biggest wallet in the world. You also have Trust Wallet, and many others. MetaMask has like 200 million users. That's where we all started from, MetaMask, and it has several blockchains. I think they integrated Solana this month as well, or last month. So Ethereum, BNB, whatever, you can use that on MetaMask, Phantom, Sui, Chain, Base, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Solana, many others. You can use Phantom, and Hot Wallet is like 100 different blockchain. Hot Wallet has a huge number. You can access it on Telegram, or you can also download their app on your App Store, Play Store. Very good team. New wallet, but very good team. So let's talk about investor psychology. Um, yeah. So the you need a lot of mental fortitude to invest in volatile assets like stocks and crypto. Crypto being even more volatile, you need a lot of assets and what do you call it, psychological strength, mental fortitude, because it involves volatility and the market. There's a lot of emotions that happen in the market, but you need a strong psychology. So which means that you need to first of all avoid FOMO. So FOMO is a term you need to learn when it comes to crypto, which means fear of missing out. So let's assume you start to see a coin appreciating in value is done 10x, and then you're getting emotional because you feel like you missed out and you feel like it might do even more. Without doing your research, you go and buy. If you do that, you can lose your money. So you've got to be very, very careful of doing that. Of FOMO, fear of missing out, very important. What you need to do is to get in when there's less attention. When there's less attention on the project, you've done your research. You understand everything that is involved, and then you buy when it's undervalued, and then when there's euphoria in the market about that asset, then that's the time to sell. Okay, so you buy when there's less attention, when there's fear, especially when there's fear. So right now, a lot of assets just before the bull run, a lot of assets have dumped, like have decreased in value. But that is when there is fear, like, oh my God, what is happening? But this is just a very close barrier to the altcoin season. That is when to buy. Okay, you don't buy when there is euphoria. When you buy when there's euphoria, when you start to see news publications about Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana all over, that's the euphoria. When you buy at that time, what's going to happen is that the market profits are going to be taken by those who sold the news, and then you will be in a loss because you wasted time. You should have bought when there was less euphoria, when it was boring, and everyone was busy about their life, but you were stacking up those assets. That is when to buy. When there's fear, when there is doubt, FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. You hear that term. FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. When there's doubt, then you're going to have that. Then you're going to have a certain part of the cycle where there's fear. Then you're going to have a certain part of the cycle where there is capitulation, which you see that the assets are beginning to rise and appreciate like 2 times, 3 times their value. Then it goes crazy and there's disbelief. There is absolute disbelief because a lot of things are going crazy. People are making so much money. So you should get in when there is fear and FUD, and then there was going to be what we call FOMO. People will start to FOMO in. These are crypto terms, but then there's disbelief. They're like, oh my God, I'm missing out. Generally, the regular person does that. But then if you want to be an investor and a very good investor, you need to buy when there is boredom, when it's boring, when there's nothing happening, when there's fear. That's when to buy, right? Okay. Who here has panic sold before? I'm raising my hands. I'm number one. I've panic sold before. Who here has ever panic sold? Which means like you saw your assets dip, dump in value, and you get scared and you just sold. If you've done that, own up in the chat. You bought, you said, Charlie, someone told you that crypto is going to make you money. Then you bought the assets. Then you saw the next day minus 50%. Then you got scared, Charlie. You sold. Then the day after it did 10x. Said, Jesus, I sold before the pop. That is panic selling. And that's the emotional aspect of it, which you need to control. Detaching your emotion, the market will, oh my gosh.